The galaxy had never seen anything like them before. The Xeroc Dominion, a coalition of ruthless and technologically advanced alien races, swept through star systems with terrifying precision and power. Entire worlds fell in the blink of an eye, their defenders overwhelmed by weapons that tore through shields as if they were paper. No fleet had ever dared challenge the Xeroc, and no defense system could withstand their relentless assault. On the bridge of the Starwind, a battered freighter fleeing the destruction of its homeworld, Captain Lyra Voss stared out at the horizon of stars and felt the weight of despair pressing down on her chest. Behind them, the ominous silhouette of a Xeroc warship loomed, its weapon arrays glowing menacingly. She had seen what these ships could do: planets turned to ash, entire fleets obliterated. "There's no way we can outrun them," her first officer muttered grimly. Lyra's jaw tightened. "We have to try. We owe it to those still alive." The Starwind was one of millions of vessels that had fled in the Dominion's wake. The galaxy was changing rapidly, shifting from a place of hope and exploration to one dominated by fear and submission. The Xeric's invasion was unlike anything the galaxy had experienced. Their ships were massive and nearly indestructible, equipped with shields that absorbed the most powerful energy blasts, and weapons that could vaporize entire cities from orbit. Their pilots were cold, disciplined, and utterly loyal to the Dominion's cause. They fought with unyielding efficiency, leaving no room for mercy. Rumors spread through the battered colonies and underground. Resistance cells, no force had ever stopped the Xeroc. Resistance was futile, but in the midst of despair, whispers of a different story began to surface. Stories of a race called humans who were said to be unpredictable and fiercely stubborn. Known for their daring and ingenuity, humanity had somehow managed to survive in the galaxy's toughest environments. Some hoped they might be the answer to the Xerac threat in a hidden council chamber on the neutral planet of Aloria. Representatives from the remaining free worlds gathered in urgent secrecy. The air was thick with tension. "We cannot let the Xeroc reach our home systems," urged General Carve, his alien eyes burning with worry. "Our defenses are failing. We must find new allies." One by one, the delegates voiced their fears and hopes. The situation was desperate. They needed a miracle. That miracle came in the form of a message, transmitted through encrypted channels and ancient relays. It was a simple declaration from Earth. The human race would send one of their warships, the USS Resolute, to assist in delaying the Xeric advance. Across the galaxy, hope flickered like a fragile flame. On board the Resolute, Captain Nathan Harrow stood before his crew in the ship's briefing room. The ship was aging, a relic from humanity's earlier days of space exploration. But its systems had been upgraded repeatedly. The crew was a mix of seasoned veterans and green recruits, all aware of the immense challenge ahead. "Xeric ships outmatch us in every way," Harrow began, his voice steady and commanding. "Their weapons, shields, numbers, they are overwhelming. But what they lack is what we have: creativity, courage, and the refusal to surrender." The crew listened intently, absorbing their captain's confidence. "We won't win by brute force," he continued. "We'll win by being smarter, faster, and more determined. Our mission is clear: by time for the galaxy to organize a defense. We are the shield between the Xeroc and those who cannot fight back." As the Resolute prepared to leave human space and venture into the unknown, Harrow walked the decks, looking at the faces of his crew. Some were nervous, others resolute. All understood the stakes. Meanwhile, across the void, the Xeric fleet advanced like an unstoppable wave. Their commanders communicated in clipped commands, confident their conquest was near completion. But deep within their ranks, whispers of the humans began to circulate: a warship unlike any they had faced. The galaxy's darkest hour was approaching. and the USS Resolute was heading straight into the storm. The USS Resolute slipped quietly through the dark corridors of space, its engines humming steadily as it left the relative safety of human-controlled star systems. Outside, the stars stretched in endless patterns. Indifferent to the storm gathering at the edge of known space, Captain Nathan Harrow stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the star charts glowing before him. Ahead lay the Crucible Systema cluster of resource-rich planets that had become a critical choke point between the Xerx's conquered territory and the free worlds still resisting. If the Dominion captured Crucible, their advance would become unstoppable. The mission was simple in command, yet daunting in execution. Delay the Xerox fleet long enough for the Alliance of Free Systems to strengthen their defenses and organize a counterattack. Harrow knew the odds were slim, but retreat was not an option. "Captain, incoming communication," Lieutenant Mira Chen said. Breaking the tense silence, Harrow nodded. "Patch it through." The view screen flickered, revealing a holographic image of General Carve from the Elorian Council. His reptilian features were etched with worry, but his tone was firm. "Captain Harrow, the Crucible system holds more than resources," Carve said. "Its orbital defense platforms are old, but still operational. If the Xerox seize them, they'll gain a strategic foothold that will doom us all. Your mission is critical." Harrow straightened. "Understood, General. We'll do everything we can. Remember, Captain, your ship is not a match for theirs in direct combat. Use your speed, your knowledge of tactics, and above all, keep your crew alive. The galaxy needs you." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge quiet once more. Harrow turned to his officers. "This is not a mission for brute strength," he said quietly. "It's a mission for precision, patience, and surprise." Across the ship, the crew prepared. Engineers checked and rechecked the aging ship's systems, pushing its worn engines and shields to the limit. The science team studied Xeric fleet movements, hunting for any pattern or weakness. Among the crew was Ensign Talia Reyes, one of the newest recruits. She had grown up hearing stories of humanity's pioneering spirit, of battles fought against impossible odds. Now, she was about to face that reality firsthand, in the mess hall. She shared a quiet moment with her friend and fellow pilot, Jace Donovan. The hum of the ship's engines was a constant reminder of the vastness outside. "You nervous?" Jace asked with a half-smile. Talia shrugged, terrified but ready. Jace nodded. "That's what counts. We'll make them regret ever thinking they could walk over us." Back on the bridge, the first sensors picked up the Xerox fleet approaching the Crucible system. A vast armada, dozens of capital ships in tight formation, their glowing weapons ready to strike. The Resolute was a small ship compared to these giants. Its hull was sleek but worn, its weapons modest in power. Against this force, it was a single spark against a wildfire. Yet as the Xerox fleet closed in, the humans did not falter. Captain Harrow issued orders with calm precision. "Prepare to engage electronic countermeasures. Weapons teams ready for rapid fire. Helm, keep us moving." The Resolute danced among the stars, weaving through asteroid belts and using the system's natural terrain to mask its movements. The Xerox ships fired, but their shots often missed or were absorbed by the ship's shields. Suddenly, the humans launched a swift strike targeting the nearest Xerox destroyer with a volley of plasma bursts that disabled its communications array. The shock was immediate. The enemy's formation faltered. "We hit them harder than they expected," Lieutenant Chen reported, eyes gleaming. "Good," Harrow said. "Keep the pressure on. Hit and fade. Don't let them pin us down." Battle became a game of cat and mouse. The Resolute used every advantage: smaller size, faster maneuverability, and unpredictable tactics. The Xerox, despite their overwhelming power, struggled to adapt. Meanwhile, Aboard the Xerox flagship, Commander Star watched the humans' unexpected resistance with growing frustration. No fleet had ever dared challenge his forces like this, much less force them to break formation. "Destroy that ship," he commanded coldly. "Leave no survivors." Back on the Resolute, alarms blared as a missile locked on. The crew scrambled to deploy countermeasures, jamming signals and firing flares that confused the incoming warhead. The missile exploded harmlessly in the distance. Harrow allowed himself a brief smile. "They're good, but we're better." The battle was far from over. But the Resolute had done what seemed impossible. It had slowed the unstoppable force, and in doing so, it had ignited a spark that would soon spread across the galaxy. The Crucible system was a swirling dance of light and shadow, its planets orbiting in quiet splendor, unaware that they were about to become the stage for a confrontation that could change the fate of the galaxy. At the system's edge, the USS Resolute drifted into position, its sensors locked on the Xerox fleet massing beyond the asteroid belt. Captain Nathan Harrow stood on the bridge, watching the blip of the enemy ships on the tactical display. There were more than 50 warships, cruisers, destroyers, and several massive battleships that dwarfed the Resolute in size. Each one bristled with weapons far more advanced and powerful than anything humanity had faced before. "Lieutenant Mira." Chen's voice cut through the tense silence. "Captain, enemy fleet is deploying in a crescent formation, preparing for orbital bombardment." Harrow's gaze sharpened. Their usual tactic: overwhelm with firepower and break planetary defenses. In hours. He looked around at his crew, all focused and ready. "We don't have hours. We don't even have minutes. Our job is to disrupt, confuse, and delay. We hit hard and disappear. Repeat until they give up, or we're forced to retreat." "Orders." "Acknowledged," Chen replied. The Resolute surged forward, its engines roaring as it slipped through the asteroid belt. Using the dense fields of rock as cover, it closed the distance with the Xerox fleet. The enemy warships began targeting the human ship immediately, lasers and plasma beams slicing through space. But the Resolute's smaller size and agility made it difficult to hit. First Officer Marcus Vale called out from his station. "Enemy destroyer locking on. Weapons ready." Harrow nodded sharply. "Fire at will. Aim for their sensor arrays and communications." Plasma bolts streaked forward, striking the lead destroyer. Sparks and explosions erupted along its hull. The enemy ship staggered, its formation wobbling. The Xera commanders were visibly shaken by the unexpected precision of the human strikes. Their seasoned crews had never faced an enemy who struck so boldly and vanished so quickly in the chaos. Harrow ordered the Resolute to dive deeper into the asteroid field. Keep them guessing. Use the environment. On board the Resolute, the crew worked in perfect sync. Engineers rerouted power to shields and weapons, while the science team hacked into the enemy's electronic warfare systems. Every moment was a test of endurance and skill. Ensign Talia Reyes sat at the communications console, her fingers flying over controls as she intercepted Xerox signals. "Captain, I'm picking up chatter. They're frustrated. They don't understand how we keep slipping through." "Good," Harrow said. "Let them waste their energy chasing phantoms." Suddenly, the enemy flagship, a colossal battleship, known as the Zereth Prime, changed course and charged directly toward the Resolute. Its massive weapons locked onto the human warship, preparing to unleash a devastating barrage. "Captain, Roth Prime is targeting us with main cannons," Chen reported urgently. Harrow's expression hardened. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Helm, full power. Take us through the asteroid belt's densest zone." The Resolute weaved sharply between massive asteroids, the enemy's weapons firing relentlessly. Explosions lit up the void around them, some grazing the hull, but the ship held firm. "Countermeasures active," Vale said. Missiles incoming. The crew launched flares and electronic jammers, confusing the tracking systems. One missile veered off and detonated harmlessly. The Resolute emerged from the asteroid field, battered but unbroken. Harrow knew this was just the beginning. "Launch fighters," he ordered. "Distract and harass. Keep them off balance." Squadrons of small, fast human fighters darted into battle, weaving between enemy ships, striking at vulnerable points, then disappearing into space. The Zera commanders cursed the humans' audacity. Their massive fleets were powerful, but slow to respond to such agile foes. As the battle raged, Harrow made a critical decision: prepare for a boarding operation. Whispers of surprise filled the bridge. The Resolute was outgunned and outnumbered. Boarding. A Xeric ship seemed suicidal. "Explain, Captain," Chen requested. "We can't win by destruction alone," Harrow said firmly. "If we can take control of one of their command ships, even briefly, we disrupt their coordination and sow chaos." The crew worked swiftly. Marines and boarding shuttles prepared for the risky mission. Minutes later, under the cover of fire, boarding pods sped toward a crippled Zera cruiser. The human Marines landed amid fierce resistance, but fought with relentless determination. Inside the enemy ship's command center, chaos erupted. The boarding party seized control of communication arrays, sending false commands that caused confusion among the Xeroc fleet. Back on the Resolute, Harrow smiled grimly. "This is how we fight. Not with brute force, but with courage and cunning." The battle in the Crucible system was far from over. But the humans had proven one vital truth. Even against a seemingly unstoppable enemy, the spirit of humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The echo of the boarding operation's success still reverberated through the USS Resolute as Captain Nathan Harrow paced the bridge. The crew worked tirelessly, repairing damage and analyzing the impact of their daring assault on the Xeroc cruiser. For the first time, the human warship had struck a blow that shook the enemy's formation and sowed real confusion. Lieutenant Mira Chen looked up from her console. "Captain, the enemy fleet is attempting to reorganize, but their communication channels remain compromised. We have a window to press the advantage." Harrow nodded, a spark of determination lighting his eyes. "Good. Let's remind them why humans are different." Across the galaxy, tales of the human ship's audacity spread quickly, whispered among resistance groups and even reaching the ears of Xeroc officers. Too many. Humanity was a species of unexpected resilience, willing to fight harder and smarter than anyone else dared. On the Resolute, this spirit was not just legend. It was real, alive in every officer and crew member. The ship's engineers pushed the aging vessel beyond its limits, finding new ways to optimize energy distribution and weapon efficiency. The science team worked day and night, analyzing enemy tactics and weaknesses, turning every discovery into a new advantage. Ensign Talia Reyes felt the weight of their mission every time she looked at the stars outside her window. She had grown up hearing stories of humanity's pioneering past, how they had tamed harsh worlds and survived against impossible odds. Now she was living that legacy. In the ship's simulator room, pilots practiced daring maneuvers. Jace Donovan, one of the squadron's best, grinned as he executed a complex barrel roll. "Keep pushing," he said to the younger pilots. "The Xeroc fight hard, but we fight harder." Captain Harrow convened a strategy session. "We can't match them. Ship for ship, but we can outthink them. They rely on strict formations and overwhelming firepower. We rely on adaptability and unpredictability." He pointed to the holographic projection of the enemy fleet. "We'll use hit-and-run tactics. Strike where they least expect it, then vanish. We'll turn the battlefield into a puzzle they can't solve." The crew absorbed the plan with a mix of anxiety and excitement. The stakes were high, but their resolve was higher. Days later, the Resolute moved again into the Crucible. System this time to intercept a Xeric supply convoy crucial for their frontline fleets. Without supplies, the Dominion's advance would falter. Harrow's voice was calm but resolute. All units, prepare for engagement. We hit fast and disappear. The convoy was guarded by nimble escort ships designed to protect cargo vessels. But the humans were ready. Fighter squadrons darted through space, weaving between the convoy with expert precision. The Resolute unleashed a barrage of coordinated strikes, disabling engines, and communication arrays. Explosions lit the void as cargo ships were crippled. Their supplies lost. The Xeric retaliated fiercely, but the human crew's quick thinking and relentless energy kept them one step ahead. When enemy reinforcements arrived, the Resolute used the system's dense asteroid belts to break contact and vanish. Back on the ship, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. "This is what makes us human," Harrow told his officers. "Our strength is our spirits, our refusal to give up, even when the odds are against us." Lieutenant Chen smiled. The enemy doesn't expect it. They can't predict it. As the battle for Crucible raged, the human crew's creativity and determination began to wear on the Xeric commanders. The rigid, hierarchical nature of the Dominion's forces left them ill-prepared for the flexible, daring tactics of the Resolute. Commander Starr, aboard the Xerith Prime, seethed with frustration. "These humans fight with madness," he growled. "They do not fear death, and they do not follow our rules." Meanwhile, the galaxy watched closely. Reports of the Resolute's success inspired resistance movements and unsettled the Dominion's allies. The human warship became more than a vessel. It was a symbol of hope in a quiet moment. Captain Harrow stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The battle was far from over, but the human spirit shone brightly against the darkness. "We may be outnumbered and outgunned," he thought, "but no force can break the will of those who refuse to surrender." And with that conviction, the USS Resolute prepared for its next move, ready to carry the fight to the heart of the Xeric Dominion. The USS Resolute had become a symbol, a spark of defiance in a galaxy drowning in fear. Captain Nathan Harrow knew the importance of that spark. It was more than just a ship, and crewite was hope. And hope was contagious. Inside the ship's Communications Center, Ensign Talia Reyes adjusted frequencies, preparing to broadcast a message across the Crucible system and beyond. This was not a routine transmission. This was a declaration. "Ready, Captain?" she said, her voice steady despite the tension. Harrow nodded and stepped forward. The crew gathered quietly, aware of the gravity of the moment. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the star systems aligned before them. The message would reach not just the Allied worlds, but also those still under Xeric rule. Perhaps even the Dominion's own soldiers. "Begin transmission," Harrow ordered. A clear, firm voice echoed through space, carried by the ship's powerful transmitters. "To all free worlds, to all who resist tyranny, humanity stands with you. The Xeric Dominion has conquered many, relying on fear and force. But no empire lasts forever. No darkness can snuff out the light of freedom." He paused, letting the words sink in. "We are not heroes. We are not invincible. But we are determined. We fight not because we seek glory, but because we refuse to surrender our right to live in peace. The USS Resolute is small against their fleet, but our spirit is mighty. Join us. Stand with us. Together, we can break their grip." The message repeated in multiple languages, encoded for secure transmission, and broadcast on every open channel. Across the galaxy, in hidden bunkers and resistance cells, the message was received. Faces lit with renewed hope, fingers tightened on weapons, and hearts swelled with courage. On the Resolute, the mood was electric. Lieutenant Myra Chen smiled. "Captain, we've already received replies. Systems long silent are responding." In a dimly lit room on a distant rebel outpost, Commander Lacera of the Andrus Resistance watched the broadcast in awe. For years, her people had fought in silence, isolated and uncertain if help would ever come. Now, humanity's voice reached her, a beacon in the dark. She stood and addressed her fighters. "The humans have not only resisted, they have struck back. We are not alone." Back aboard the Zerith Prime, Commander Star's expression darkened as he intercepted the broadcast. The humans were defiant, daring to challenge the Dominion's might openly. "Silence that voice," he ordered coldly. "Crush their rebellion before it spreads." But the message was already spreading faster than his fleets could contain, as the Resolute prepared for its next mission. Captain Harrow convened his officers. "The Xerox will try to break us," he said. "They will send more ships, more weapons, more fear. But we have something they do not: a message that inspires, a cause that unites." He looked each officer in the eye. "They carry the hopes of millions. We must be ready to fight harder than ever." The crew understood the burden. They were not just soldiers. They were ambassadors of resistance. Ensign Talia Reyes, standing quietly at her console, felt a swell of pride. This was why they fought, not just to survive, but to inspire others to stand tall against oppression. The USS Resolute launched a series of swift raids on Xerox supply lines and communication hubs, disrupting their operations and signaling that the humans would not be pushed aside. Each victory, no matter how small, was broadcast in encrypted channels back to the galaxy. Each success was a message. Resistance was possible. Meanwhile, the Xerox Dominion tightened its grip. Commander Starr intensified efforts to locate and destroy the Resolute, sending hunting parties deeper into space. But the humans had become elusive shadows, striking fast, vanishing without a trace. Their spirit was unbreakable in the quiet. Moments before battle, Captain Harrow often returned to the ship's observation deck, staring out at the stars. The galaxy was vast and filled with darkness, but also light. "Let them hear us," he whispered to himself. "Let them know the fight is not over." And so the USS Resolute sailed onward, a shining beacon of defiance. Its message was clear. Ringing through the void, no force, no matter how great, could silence the human will to fight. The galaxy was waking up. The age of resistance had begun. The USS Resolute cruised through the outer rim of the Crucible system, the stars streaking past its reinforced windows like silent sentinels bearing witness to the battle ahead. Captain Nathan Harrow stood alone on the observation deck, eyes distant as memories flickered through his mind. War was never new to him. He had seen countless battles, lost friends, and faced impossible odds before. But this fight against the Xerox Dominion carried a weight unlike any other. The stakes were not just survival, but the future of humanity and countless other species. A soft chime echoed behind him. Lieutenant Myra Chen entered quietly, her expression thoughtful. "Captain, the intel team has uncovered something you should see," she said, holding a datapad. Harrow nodded and followed her to the briefing room. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a series of encrypted transmissions intercepted from deep within Xerox space. "These messages date back decades," Chen explained. "They're from a faction within the Dominion rebels who opposed the brutal expansionist policies." Harrow leaned forward. "A resistance within the enemy ranks." Chen nodded. "They're few, but their information is invaluable. They've provided coordinates to hidden supply depots and secret weapon caches." The room grew silent as the implications settled in. "This could change everything," Harrow said. "If we can make contact, gain their trust, we might open a new front against the Dominion from within." The crew's hope deepened. The enemy was not a monolith, but a fractured force, and the cracks could be exploited. Ensign Talia Reyes, listening nearby, felt a surge of excitement. It was proof that even in the darkest places, there were those willing to stand against tyranny. Plans were quickly made. The Resolute would send a covert team to the designated coordinates, risking capture but with the chance to secure allies that could turn the tide. Meanwhile, the ship prepared for a new challenge. The Xeric fleet, infuriated by the human ships' persistent defiance, had called in reinforcements. Massive battleship known as the Varkan's Wrath. Its arrival would tip the balance dangerously. On the bridge, Captain Haro addressed his officers. "We face a greater enemy, but we're not alone. The shadows within their ranks offer us a chance. We take it." The covert team launched in stealth shuttles, slipping through enemy lines under the cloak of darkness. Their mission was clear. Contact the rebel faction, secure intelligence, and return before the Varkan's Wrath could strike. Inside the alien territory, tension ran high. The shuttles navigated asteroid fields and derelict stations, searching for the hidden base. At last, they found it a concealed outpost built into an asteroid. Shielded from scans and prying eyes, the team made contact with the rebels' Xeric, soldiers and scientists who had chosen to defy their leaders. Their leader, a fierce warrior named Vashkar, explained their plight. "We resist the Dominion's cruelty," he said, "but we are weak alone. Your arrival is a chance for both our peoples." Together, they shared intelligence, revealing weaknesses in the Dominion's defenses and plans for a devastating weapon hidden on one of the outer worlds. The Resolute team returned with vital information. Just as the ominous silhouette of the Varkan's Wrath appeared on sensors, the battleship was a titan of war murd, heavily armed and relentless. Haro's face hardened. "This is what we've prepared for. All hands, battle stations." The crew braced as the Varkan's Wrath opened fire. The Resolute responded with swift maneuvers, dodging barrages and striking weak points exposed by their newfound knowledge. The battle was fierce, shaking the Resolute to its core. But the human ship fought with determination and heart, using every tactic learned and every ounce of hope gained from their new allies in the chaos. The alliance between human and Xeric rebels proved its worth. Saboteurs struck the battleships, systems from within, crippling its weapons and shields. The Varkan's Wrath faltered, its firepower reduced. Seizing the moment, the Resolute delivered a precise strike to its engines, forcing the massive warship to retreat. Cheers erupted throughout the human ship. For the first time, victory tasted within reach. Captain Haro looked out into space, the stars shining bright. The shadows of the past had offered a path forward. The war was far from over, but the Resolute had found allies in unexpected places, and with them, a new hope to challenge the unstoppable force. The victory over the Varkan's Wrath sent shockwaves through the Xeric Dominion. It was more than just a tactical win, was a signal that the once invincible enemy could be challenged. Across the Crucible system, whispers of the human warships. Defiance-inspired resistance cells and unsettled Dominion commanders. Captain Nathan Haro stood on the bridge of the USS Resolute, his gaze steady but alert. The battleship sensors flickered with incoming reports from their Xeric allies, the rebel faction led by Vash. Carr had begun coordinated strikes on Dominion supply routes and communication hubs. The tide was beginning to turn. Lieutenant Mira Chen tapped her console, bringing up tactical data. "Captain, the Dominion fleet is scrambling reinforcements, but their response is slower and less coordinated. Our disruption is having a real impact." Haro nodded. "Good, keep pressure on. We'll hit their logistics hard while they're vulnerable." The Resolute slipped through the system like a shadow, a small but potent force sowing confusion and fear. Fighter squadrons launched rapid strikes, crippling enemy ships and escaping before the Dominion could retaliate. Ensign Talia Reyes monitored transmissions from Allied systems, relaying messages of support and coordination. "Captain, the message we sent weeks ago is spreading. More systems are rallying behind us." Harrow allowed himself a brief smile. The human spirit was contagious, igniting courage across star systems once resigned to oppression, but victory bred new challenges. Intelligence. Reports warned of a secret Dominion Project N experimental weapon hidden on a remote moon. If activated, it could decimate entire fleets and crush any resistance. "This weapon must be stopped," Harrow said grimly during the strategy meeting. "If the Xyrock deploy it, the war is over." Vashkar's holographic image appeared. Beside the human officers, our scouts confirm its location. It is guarded heavily, but its defenses are vulnerable to a combined strike. Harrow looked to his officers. "We'll mount a joint operation. Human Marines and Xeric rebels will lead the assault. Else, we strike fast, take the weapon, and destroy it before it's operational." The plan was daring, risking lives to prevent disaster, but the only alternative was defeat. The Resolute approached the barren moon under the cover of darkness. Below, the weapon installation gleamed ominously, surrounded by turrets and patrols. Harrow's voice was calm but firm. "This is the moment. Every second counts. Marines, prepare to deploy. Fighters, cover our approach." As the assault shuttles descended, enemy fire lit the sky. Explosions rocked the moon's surface as human and Xeric forces fought side by side, pushing through barriers and disabling defenses. Inside the facility, Harrow led a squad through narrow corridors, the hum of alien machinery growing louder. Ahead lay the core of the Weapon A massive energy reactor, pulsing with dangerous power. "Plant charges," he ordered. "We don't have long." The Marines worked swiftly, setting explosives while fending off relentless enemy resistance. Alarms blared as Dominion soldiers scrambled to contain the breach. In a tense moment, Vashkar appeared at Harrow's side. "We must retreat quickly," he warned. "Their reinforcements are close." The charges were armed. Harrow signaled the team to withdraw. The retreat was a race against time. The facility began to shake as explosives detonated, sending shockwaves through the moon's surface. The energy reactor exploded in a brilliant flash, disabling the weapon and crippling the Dominion's hopes. Back aboard the Resolute, the crew cheered the success. Though the cost was heavy, several brave fighters had been lost. Harrow addressed the crew, his voice steady with resolve. "We honor those who gave their lives today. Their sacrifice lights our path forward." The battle had shifted the war's momentum. The Xeric Dominion's grip loosened, and the galaxy's resistance grew stronger. Yet, Captain Harrow knew this was far from the end. The Dominion would not yield easily, and the coming days would test their spirit like never before. But for now, USS Resolute sailed onward, a beacon of hope and defiance, proof that even the greatest forces could be challenged when courage burned bright. The Crucible system lay shrouded in silence, the aftermath of the battle leaving scars on distant moons and shattered fleets. Yet within the USS Resolute, the air was charged with cautious optimism. Captain Nathan Harrow stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the endless stars. The destruction of the Dominion's experimental weapon had dealt a critical blow to their campaign, but the war was far from over. Still, a new feeling had taken hold: hope. The resistance, once fragmented and fearful, had united under the banner of human courage and tenacity. Lieutenant Myra Chen approached, her expression bright with anticipation. "Captain, we're receiving transmissions from multiple systems. Former Dominion colonies are declaring independence, inspired by our actions." Harrow nodded slowly. "It's happening. The galaxy is waking up." Across the Resolute, the Crew prepared for their next mission, but the victory had renewed their spirits. Ensign Talia Reyes felt it tooth a sense that they were part of something larger than themselves. Something that could change history in a secure chamber aboard the ship. Harrow convened with Vashkar and other rebel leaders. Their alliance had grown stronger, blending human resolve with Sarek knowledge and resources. The Dominion is fracturing, Vashkar said. Their command struggles to maintain control. We can push forward, strike at their heart. Harrow agreed. We'll lead a combined offensive on their capital fleet. If we succeed, it will break their power for good. The plan was ambitious. The Resolute and Allied forces would coordinate a full-scale assault, targeting the Dominion's command ships and communication centers. As they prepared, Harrow reflected on the journey the battles fought, the losses endured, and the unexpected. Allies found in the darkest corners of the enemy's empire. Humanity's spirit had proven a force no machine or fleet could suppress. When the day came, the Resolute led the charge into the Dominion's core systems. The battle was fierce and unforgiving. Enemy ships swarmed like locusts, but human and Xerox forces fought as one, weaving through chaos with precision and heart. Amidst the turmoil, Captain Harrow piloted the Resolute toward the Dominion's flagship, the Zereth Prime. It was a massive vessel symbolizing the Dominion's might. But now vulnerable, with a decisive strike, the Resolute breached the flagship's defenses. Explosions rocked the ship as boarding teams stormed the corridors, confronting the Dominion's leadership. Commander Starr, defiant even in defeat, faced Harrow in the final confrontation. "You are stubborn," Starr hissed. "But your war ends here." Harrow's voice was calm but resolute. "No, this is where tyranny ends." With combined efforts, the Dominion's command was dismantled, their control shattered. The flagship fell silent, and across the galaxy, the Dominion's forces began to surrender. The Resolute crew watched as transmissions from former prisoners and oppressed worlds flooded in. Voices filled with gratitude and relief. Harrow addressed his crew and allies, his voice carrying through comms channels. "This victory belongs to all who dared to resist. Today, we reclaim our freedom and light the way for a new era." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy slowly healed. Former enemies forged alliances, rebuilding societies torn apart by war. The USS Resolute became a symbol not just of battle, but of unity and hope. On the observation deck, Captain Harrow stood quietly, the stars shining brighter than ever. The war had tested them all, but humanity's spirit, unbreakable and fierce, had prevailed. No force could stop them when they fought for freedom, for hope, for a future worth defending. And so, the dawn of a new era began. With the USS Resolute sailing onward, a guardian of peace and a testament to the power of the human will.